Welcome back to the Breaking the Line podcast. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Taking a deep dive into the arts of mime and choreography.
And today we're going to be going over the song He Moves, You Move. It's a two-person song by Audio Drama.
What a good song.
Yeah.
You want to tell the story about how this is choreographed?
That's right.
This one was choreographed by this loser.
Yes, this idiot over here. I choreographed this song. So it's kind of got a funny backstory about how I choreographed it. It was on my way to and from work a couple of times. It was in the car, like this song came on, and I had a CD that had several different CDs that had different genres, but this was on my contemporary Christian kind of genre of music CD. You know, when people use CDs.
I know CDs. Who uses those anymore?
Weirdos. And so, you know, I listened to this. I kind of had some inspiration for it, and I kind of like acted out some of the chorus choreography and dance and stuff like that while I'm driving. You know, I was swerving all over the road doing it.
Exactly. He moves, you move. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Just remember when you move to move with your turn signal, because the Lord does not move that mysteriously.
The Lord moves in mysterious ways, but you don't have to.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I ended up taking this song, putting it on a couple of people. It was myself and Courtney was the first people to present it back in 2015. Mm-hmm. Which is shortly after I choreographed it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one and then seeing some ways that I might alter it or add some more characterization to some things. So the version that we're going to watch today is the second version. Some of my touches that I helped develop some things, but still the base choreography is all you.
Yep, and the people who presented in this song is myself and our good friend Alex. Between the two of us, and then Samuel thrown in his choreography, I feel like this was a much better version than the original. Well, the original had a lot of promise. I feel like this one definitely was improved.
One thing I love about this song is that it's had a lot of variations. So some teams only had a small number of people, like 3, so they threw a third person in. It totally worked with the song. Other people have developed it in different ways, characterization. So it had a lot of potential, and people have kind of ran with it.
Yeah, and if you look on the Digital Mime YouTube channel, I think there's like 6 versions on there.
Well, and there's a couple more on the Aim San Diego YouTube page, so it's like we got a lot.
Yeah, it's been taken and run with, and I choreographed it, and you have my stamp of approval to take it and remix it any way you like, for the record.
Nice. All right, we ready to get into it then?
All right, so first thing you might notice is it's called Chalix, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so this was kind of a meme name that Alex and I came up with because we kept doing duo mimes together. And so
Mime camp.
Chalix. Also, you'll see my, Hand of God beginning. I really love that pose for God because it seems like a really definitive one for God and really powerful.
Yeah, it's a little artful when we've done it in public presentations, but it's the hand of blessing, saying I'm God of heaven and earth kind of language. So it's fitting and it's appropriate that you can be like, okay, that's a important character at the very least.
Yeah. And so this song is intentionally goofy, and so a lot of the parts that you'll see, like, God tapping his foot, you get sassy God over here.
A little bit spicy there.
And for the most part, I like it because, like, God still maintains, like, a serious character and a loving kind of character, but also a little bit sassy, to the point where it makes an interesting visual style.
Right, for those who have a problem with sassy God, just look at Job and his sarcasm with him. Mm-hmm. But the idea is we're keeping his divine nature still. We're not like mocking God in any way, it's just showing that part of the characterization. Mm-hmm. One thing I've noticed about this song is that the God character has a lot of specific signs, while the person, human, or whatever character, has a lot more characterization arc. So they need to start with pretty close to God, and they need to end accepting. By the way, I love that this is a little pocket New Testament. The paper falling out.
All right, so there's a lot of story about this. So first of all, this Bible in particular that was used in this presentation was a Bible that I got back in years ago that I carried in my pocket every day for 6 years. And it also, whenever I was presenting this song or practicing this song, I pulled the Bible out of my pocket and presented it to Alex for this part, and then the bookmark that I had in it fell out. And we all died laughing, and so we're like, okay, well, this has to be in the song, so we left it in the song. A lot of adaptations have actually kept that.
Yeah. A little paper falling out.
Also, this chair!
No, it's one thing that I will talk about later, but with the choreography, that because of the way it's designed with God and the person moving, it will always make it so that the person runs into the chair unless the chairs moved beforehand.
Yeah, so that's a bump in the choreography.
I do love this little touch here, the trust fall. Obviously, it's difficult to execute, but I do love that it appropriately adds to the chorus. One thing that we've talked about before in the podcast already is that we want choruses to be developed, not just the same thing on repeat. So while God does the same thing over again because he's consistent, the main person develops it, and each time they get more. Also, shout out to Virtuoso.
Yeah, the memes. This is absolutely as a joke. I did the Virtuoso.
Right, it was a dancing song anyway, so we just memed it.
Yeah, there's several like little subtle nods to things in there.
Yeah. If you see any more that we forgot to mention, throw them in the comments. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
All right, so now to the scrutiny of your trash song.
Yeah, this piece of garbage that I just watched.
What would you say the message and purpose of the song is?
So this is what I would call like a fun song. It's a song like comedy kind of thing. This is if you have a very small team, like I would say 6 and fewer is usually what I would define as a small team. And sometimes people might only have like 3 people on their team. That happens. This is the type of opener that you would like on like a short presentation with few members. Or of course you can do it as an opener with a bigger team. But
sure,
like that's kind of what I would see as a really easy audience. But this is also very widely applicable because of that. Now, as far as its like more specific purpose, if I had to give it like something narrowed, it would be a call to action for Christians because it paints the Christian walk in sort of a goofy light because it's like, oh, this guy is clearly not doing what God is asking him to do. And like, so maybe it has sort of a simpler message but at the same time, it's made to be like a, oh, duh moment.
Yeah.
As far as the audience should
No, and the hope would be that if you have a speaker talking about the song afterwards, or even as the person may have the music stuck in their head because it's an upbeat kind of song, that when the moment comes that they realize where they're not listening to God and following his directions, that would prompt them. It would be the hope that it'd be left in their hearts and minds in that way. It may come to their mind during the song, probably doubtfully just because it's such an upbeat song and you're like, yeah, but hopefully getting to the deeper core message of it. Yeah. I would say it's definitely a Christian audience song. Because it's upbeat enough, you could listen to it or play it at a public outreach, but it seems like the call to action part would be mostly for Christians still. Right. Yeah. But it does fulfill its purpose of being a fun way to get out a very serious message. All right. What would you say worked well for the song choreography-wise?
The song was perfect. Dude.
Yeah, so perfect. One thing I do love, I didn't mention already, when Alex stands up and walks away from you, you have, I don't remember what you call it, the comic like pullback. So the person's body goes forward and they get slung back. It's a nice little touch. You also have this like arc from the chair to the path they're supposed to go on, that line. One thing I thought about in hindsight was God kind of shows them the path, and then when they're walking away, they're like walking the path that they're technically going on. So maybe we metaphorically change the lines. It still works. It's just keeping direction. One thing that we added to make it a little bit more fun and to get rid of that chair issue is that they pick up the chair at the same time as they're walking away from God. 1, you get the comic thing with the chair, but 2, it gets the chair out of the way. And then finally, when the God says, leave the past behind, you can put down the chair as kind of like your past, and you're like, but I want to hold on to the chair. For that version, you can look at the Aim St. Ego version or some of the other versions later. Yeah.
I think that might be like version 4 or something.
Yeah, it got developed, but it fixed the problem of the chair being in the way for God. Yeah. I do love that it's, most of the time, 2-man mime, you got next to each other. But when you do the bridge of moving away from each other, you really cover the whole stage, which is hard to do with 2 people.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest concerns that he had, one of the biggest changes that he made originally to this song was when we had it, it was just like God and
the main,
we're kind of standing next to each other,
pointing.
Barely ever were we moving around the stage. And so he was like, that needs to stop. So we changed a few things around to make it so, we took up more of the stage. And
this happens a lot in dance choreography, which is kind of where I took the inspiration from, is layering. That if everything is kind of a mono level, both horizontally and vertically in the stage, it really looks dull. If you can get one person on their knees, one person standing up, you have a little bit of layer that way. And then if you can spread out on the stage, then you get more layers of interest. helping keep the audience looking at it and having to swivel their head a little bit. It brings excitement just from literally blocking, just moving on the stage a little differently.
Right.
Like I said, the course, developing each of the courses with the person growing more used to it. One thing that we added with San Diego was a little bit more meaning to some of the signs rather than just random dance moves.
Yeah.
But
the original was random dance moves. With the later versions that we kind of refined it, being more of like, God is trying to portray this message throughout the whole song, and then the main finally
gets
it.
Right.
And that was kind of...
It could be a little cheesy, but at least as a reason for why God might say, like, do crazy things, but they're for a purpose kind of idea. It's not just asking you to break out in random dance moves. I don't know. The Holy Spirit might prompt you because I might be Pentecostal. What? All right. What are some of the critiques you would give for your song? Things that would need developed? Because some of them we already talked about. The chair.
The chair, definitely.
and ways that we've choreographed it differently to fix it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to like look at this version, look at how far several different versions have gone.
Right.
Looking at this version in particular, of course we got the chair. The way that the main and God interact with each other tends to be like more separate than I would have liked, and later on it gets more personal. It becomes more of like a one-to-one issue as opposed to just like God generally saying something. I like the way that we change it in the future, where like with the chair that he picks up, it becomes more personal to what this guy's doing as opposed to more generic, which I thought was kind of a weak point of this song's choreography.
Sure. Because without the chair, like you could have the person literally just standing there, but the chair, and though it adds a prop to the song, it does kind of give a motionless feeling where the person's stuck. So picking up the chair all the more so is like, well, I'm going to take my stuckness somewhere else kind of feel. So it's a good prop to use, but you have to just make sure it's out of the way. Any other critique? I already kind of said it, but the critique of God showing them the path to go this way, and then that's the way he goes when he picks up the chair. Maybe there could be something where you make it be like, fine, I'll go your way, okay, but you're not doing it the right way. Or the issue I have is if he walks the other way, God would kind of have to like run after him and drag him back. I don't know. You'd have to stage it a little differently, however you want to fix that issue, pointing different directions or whatnot, but just things to think about. Any theological critiques or things that you would say work well or could be fixed in the song?
I mean, first of all, God doesn't dance, so...
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
there's no instance in the Bible where God dances. So
yeah, it's probably true. It's probably also true that Jesus, with being a Jewish person and, dancing at weddings and whatnot, he probably danced. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's a historical background inference, but I think we could say that, especially when people like David are commended for dancing. But, Pentecostal roots here. I'm not going to get all crazy. Cool. All right, what are you going to rate this song? 10, 10, 10? Yeah, 10s across the board. All right. Clarity, difficulty, style. Clarity.
So clarity, I would actually give this one relatively high ratings. I'd say maybe an 8.
Because it follows the lyrics, it's pretty easy.
It's true. It is kind of carried by the lyrics.
Well, I wouldn't even say carried. Imagine if there's no lyrics, right? The chorus would lose a little bit of something in the sense of it's kind of random choreography. But you throw this on other upbeat music, you'd probably still catch the music, the meaning of the song of like, God wants him to go this way. He's not going with him until he figures it out. Right? Like, I think even apart from the lyrics, what I like about the song is that it is clear and not leaning on dependence, that the choreography works with it, not for it.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I'd still give the clarity about an 8 because, I feel like it's kind of difficult for me to want to give it a little bit higher rating because it has such a simple message that
that's fair.
If you fail to portray a simple message, then
right, you could bomb all the choreography and probably still get the idea.
Right. And so, like the clarity, it's a pretty simple message, so it's pretty easy to portray that. So of course, I got to give it. Yes, it works, but also the message being
sure.
Kind of loses.
I'm happy giving it a 9, just because even though it is a simple message of like he moves, you move, go this way. Because it's not just dependent on the lyrics and the choreography actually works to that, I'm happy to give it a 9 for that reason. But difficulty-wise, here's where I might differ from you. So it's kind of interesting. The two people have two very different artistic things that they have to do.
Yeah.
The God character has to memorize a lot of signs, that they have to have those things in order to make their part make sense. They are more dependent on the lyrics. The other person, on the other hand, does have like very little signs except for like pointing and stepping. Their whole character arc could be different every single time they do it. It just has to develop from, no, I don't want to go, to here. Like when I did the character, I developed it as like a God offended in me or did something wrong, and how can I trust you if you're going to ask me to move because you've kind of burned, if I feel like you burned me in the past, kind of idea. So I'm more angry at the beginning as opposed to Alex here, who's a little bit more,
Alex
passive.
is more like whatever,
right?
Just this guy's crazy kind of.
Exactly, but that's totally part of like what that person takes. So for difficulty, that's a lot less specific. So if I were to give this to a new member, I would have to either give them all of the specific character things they need to do or ask them to develop it, which is harder. You'd almost want to give the more experienced person the less specific parts and the less experienced person the God character, if you had to pick. So I would say difficulty-wise, you're probably talking still maybe a 6 or 7.
That's higher than I was going to get.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. But partly it's my experience when I was teaching it to members of my team. In order to get it to nail it, it definitely was up to like a 7. Maybe the first run through you can get like maybe difficulty 5, but that's by the time you're getting like the song looks good, that characterization arc is really hard to teach.
Yep, and there are certain characters that appear in Mime that I would call improv characters.
Yes.
Two good.
They have to learn the chorus, but it's together.
Sure.
But at the same time, the trust fall as well and all the other stuff is probably a 7 still for me.
Yeah, and like with these improv characters, the two that come to mind are of course this song with the main, and also Mission 316, the two inspectors.
Yes.
Like those are improv characters that you can kind of develop a version of the song as far as you want to do it, but then like to teach it to somebody else, a lot of your thing should be, well, you kind of just do what you like, and then
pretty much.
And like that, a lot of people aren't really good at it. I love improv. It's so much fun to kind of just make stuff up. Really
just wait till we get to the PB&J song. That's like it was a hard improv piece.
Yeah. And so with those kind of improv songs, to teach them makes it really hard. But like if you're actually already good at improv, which of course I'm immaculate at improv, it makes it a lot harder to kind of pass those things on.
Yeah.
So I would almost give it an easier thing because I'm like, oh, well, improv is easy. Whereas some people might say, well, it's harder because it's improv. So I do have to give.
But what are you going to give the rating?
Giving it a 5.
Okay, that's fair.
So in difficulty, the reason I kind of give it what I would say 5 is like an average, because,
yeah,
you take.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
10,
it's fair.
Halfway is 5. The reason that I give it kind of a low is because, first of all, even if let's say you don't improvise the part and instead have somebody teach you exactly what to do with their improv version, like let's say that Alex taught his exact version to somebody, that like it's honestly not that difficult, and the cues are really loose as far as the main character goes. There's a couple of very specific cues, such as making sure you get the timing right on
the pool, the dance, yeah.
And then the dance is pretty simple.
It's pretty simple. You still need to learn it, but it's that's mostly reasonable.
As far as the God part goes, like you said, it is absolutely true. He's got a lot of specific signs that kind of like go along with the lyrics, which yes, that is sort of complicated. Maybe it could just be on the team here in Rose Hill. They tend to not have an issue with a lot of the sign language because they've done that.
It just depends. Yeah,
I feel like that might be a team specific thing. So I don't know. I would give it a 5 because I feel like a lot of these issues are things that can be dealt with pretty easily. You just need to make clear when you're teaching that song that you know what kind of parts you're giving to people. Either you're challenging them with something new and raising the difficulty inherently, or giving them something they're used to, depending on what it looks like. Right. All right, and style. I will say the song was kind of on the muted side. Like it was a good painting, but the colors were muted enough that it didn't pop yet. So the things we've added over time really made it shine, in my opinion. So style-wise now, I'd probably give it a 7. Yeah, I was thinking.
It doesn't have any crazy complicated techniques, but it has a few cool moments. You're like, yeah, that works with the song well.
Yeah. Oh, and like when I talk about style, I like to kind of think about some of the unique things that each song does. This one, which also shares this uniqueness with I Am as a solo, is there aren't many solo and duo mimes where God is the main character. Like, it doesn't happen very often. And so, like, in I Am, God is
the only character.
And he is sort of preaching to the audience, which is kind of nice. Now, granted, that one's it's just basically like a signed mime.
Pretty simple, yeah.
Pretty simple. Whereas this one, God is a main character talking directly to somebody, and that doesn't really happen very often. You think
it definitely filled a hole that way,
Yeah, you think of most duo mimes, think of like Not for Sale. Well, it's Satan and a main. You think of What If? It's a Christian and a skeptic.
Right.
So there's not really God that appears in it. So this one threw in God as a main character.
No, it's good. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah. So I'd give, as far as my number rating for style, I'd give it like a 7.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Solid song.
Definitely I'd give it a 10.
And I all the more so thinking about all the ways that we've added and critiqued it.
Yeah.
But like those, that's where I'd say 7 potential.
Yeah, in its modern, like most recent form that the San Diego team did, I would probably give it like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, but 8, I would still say 8.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any like backflips or anything. That would be, or flags, man. Add flags in it.
So there we go. We need to add backflips and flags. And
yes, and then a 10. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Links down in the comment for the original video, but check out the digital mime for all the millions of versions of He Moves, We Move, as well as some on the Aim San Diego page. Make sure to hit that like button.
Mash that like subscribe.
Might mash that like subscribe. That's our thing, I guess. And as always, I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Breaking the line.